Hello, Internet! Gather round for a tale that proves karma never misses its mark. This is the story of Jim, a neighbor who turned the tables on a petty, power-drunk HOA tyrant and made sure he paid back every dirty dollar he stole. If you love stories where revenge is cold, calculated, served up with a side of neighborhood gossip, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and stick around because this scandal is about to blow wide open. When Jim moved into his quiet suburban neighborhood, he imagined barbecues, trimmed hedges, and polite waves. Instead, he walked right into a mini kingdom ruled by Todd, a two-bit dictator hiding behind the title of HOA president. Todd was the worst kind of power hoarder. He loved barking orders but dodged every rule himself. He fined families $200 for daring to leave their trash cans out for 60 seconds too long. But his own yard was a backwoods carnival of unpermitted sheds and a fence that towered higher than the city ever allowed. But Todd's real crime. He treated the HOA's bank account like his own private ATM. At first, Jim tried to play nice. His crime, a fence that was just a shade off because the approved stain was sold out. For that, Todd slapped him with a $500 fine. But Jim explained, showed every receipt, asked for understanding. Todd just sneered, muttered, "Rules are rules," and strutted off like a wannabe sheriff. That's when Jim decided Todd had just made the worst mistake of his grubby little life. Jim wasn't about to yell in the street or write angry emails. No. This was going to be death by paperwork, policy, and sweet, methodical payback. Todd's first fatal misstep, thinking Jim was harmless. Jim joined the HOA board under the innocent mask of wanting to get involved. He played the eager rookie to perfection. For 2 years straight, he sat through every meeting, biting his tongue, nodding along while Todd bossed people around, buried dissenters in pointless forms, and steamrolled votes behind closed doors when only his cronies were present. If a homeowner dared push back, paperwork just magically disappeared. Jim documented it all. He kept his head down and his notepad full. He wasn't just waiting for Todd's term to run out. He was sharpening the blade. And then, Todd messed up even worse. Turns out the tin pot tyrant wasn't just a bully. He was a full-blown thief. Todd bragged non-stop about how well he managed the HOA's money, but the books didn't add up. Fees were sky-high, twice what similar neighborhoods paid, but the place looked like a dump. The pool closed for half the summer for maintenance. The landscaping, dead shrubs, and weeds. Residents got nothing for their money, except Todd's smug grin. So Jim started digging. Todd, conveniently, was the treasurer too. Imagine that, and refused to hand over real numbers. When Jim asked for the budget in a meeting, Todd laughed and said, "Don't worry, I've got it under control." Jim filed an official request under HOA rules. Weeks passed. Todd ghosted him. Jim wasn't shocked. He just changed tactics. Word spread fast once Jim started knocking on doors. Turns out Todd had been waving off nosy neighbors for years. Over a dozen people had asked for the budget and got the same "don't worry about it" brush off. One neighbor swore Todd used HOA money to build a swanky patio. Another spotted Todd's kids splashing around the closed pool, while paying families sweated it out. With all this, Jim filed a formal complaint to corner Todd. Todd squirmed, but Jim wasn't backing down. When Todd finally coughed up the so-called records, it was a glorious mess. Receipts missing, payments shuffled around, line items that looked like they'd been written by a drunk raccoon. There was a $15,000 landscaping payment to a company that didn't even exist. Thousands labeled administrative expenses with no trail at all. Jim cross-checked every line with the bank statements and hit the jackpot. Todd had been skimming money straight into his personal account, and the cherry on top. Todd was jacking up contractor fees, pocketing the difference, and splitting the stolen cash with a shady buddy who handled HOA repairs. Jim pulled everything together. Spreadsheets, photos, notarized statements from neighbors who'd watched Todd's little family enjoy their stolen perks. He built a report that would make an auditor drool. Then Jim made sure Todd's stage would be packed. The annual HOA meeting was usually just Todd droning on to 5 bored retirees. Not this time. Jim spent weeks knocking on doors, sharing just enough to light people up with rage and curiosity. He didn't show his full hand. Not yet. The night of the meeting, every seat was filled. Todd opened with his usual sermon about how hard it was to run the HOA and all the sacrifices he made for the neighborhood. Jim let him ramble. Then he stood up, voice calm as ice. He asked Todd to explain a few odd lines in the budget. Todd laughed, nervous now, and said, "I don't think this is the time or place." Jim locked eyes with him and said, "Actually, Todd, it's the perfect time." Jim handed out thick packets to every homeowner in that room. One by one, heads bent, pages flipped. Then the whispering started. Then the shouting. Todd stammered, begged for calm, but he'd lost control. Jim called for a vote on the spot. By the end of that night, Todd's reign was done. Once Todd was booted, the HOA hired a real auditor to scrub every penny. They confirmed it all. Over $50,000 embezzled, tens of thousands more wasted, multiple counts of fraud. Todd's file went straight to the police. A civil lawsuit followed to claw back every dirty dollar. But Jim didn't stop there. Todd's crooked contractor pal got dragged into the light too and banned from working in the county. Todd had to sell his precious house to cover restitution and legal fees. His name became the neighborhood's favorite punchline. Good luck finding work when the first Google hit is local HOA thief. With Todd's empire in flames, Jim and the new board rebuilt the HOA from the ground up. They wrote in term limits, forced multiple signatures on spending, and launched an online portal so every homeowner could see every receipt. No more secret patios, no more pool parties for the president's kids. He can't help but smile. Every time Jim walks by Todd's old place, now owned by a sweet family that actually follows the rules. The pool is open, the gardens are gorgeous, the fees are lower than ever. And Todd, he slithered off to a nearby town, tried to worm his way onto another HOA board, and got laughed out of the room the second someone typed his name into Google. Justice wasn't just served, it was roasted, plated, and served with a fine wine for Jim and every neighbor who lived under Todd's petty reign. And that, my friends, is how Jim turned a petty HOA tyrant into the neighborhood's biggest cautionary tale. If you enjoyed watching karma do its thing in glorious slow motion, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this story a big like, and drop a comment below about the worst HOA drama you've ever seen, or how you'd serve up your own slice of revenge. Until next time, keep your fences legal, your receipts handy, and your enemies sweating. See you in the next story.